This is Eddie Muller, welcoming you to a new season of Noir Alley, already our third. I hope you've been enjoying all the darkness, danger, and despair over the past 2 years. Isn't it so much more tolerable on screen? And to kick off our fresh slate of films, we've got a picture that may have the greatest setup ever. From 1950, it's D.O.A. Frank Bigelow, a small-town accountant and notary, visits the big city for a convention where he slipped a poisoned cocktail. When he learns he has only hours to live, he hunts down the culprit, trying to learn why he's been murdered. It's a detective story in which our hero, played by average Eddie O'Brien, is both the victim and the gumshoe. And it's one hell of a premise on which to spin a plot. Some people consider D.O.A. the darkest, most nihilistic noir of them all. Others think it's sort of ridiculous. There's an oddly imbalanced tone to the proceedings that, especially in the film's first half, makes you wonder if the filmmakers were taking any of this seriously. You won't find clues to the writer's intentions by looking at other works from the team of Russell Rouse and Clarence Green. They started writing together in 1944 with The Town Went Wild, a comedy. D.O.A. was the first of 5 noirs they collaborated on in the 1950s, with Rouse directing several of them. Pictures like 1951's The Well and The Thief from 1952 are strong and inventive dramas, both directed by Rouse. But these guys also won an Oscar for co-writing the hit comedy Pillow Talk from 1959. And with their 1953 film Wicked Woman, it's impossible to tell if they're playing it straight or laughing up their sleeves at the cheesiness of the whole thing. D.O.A. shares some noir DNA with the 1931 film The Man Looking for His Killer, made in Germany by noir maestro Robert Siodmak. There are sufficient similarities for some critics to contend that Rouse and Green swiped the idea for D.O.A. from Siodmak. In that one, however, the hapless hero is so despondent he hires a hitman to kill him, only to change his mind. And like D.O.A., there are darkly comedic aspects to the hero's plight. Well, with Edmund O'Brien in the driver's seat, there is little chance of taking D.O.A. too seriously. It's a breakneck, almost berserk spin on the classic detective yarn, with a plot that becomes more convoluted than The Big Sleep. Something about the trading of the ominous mineral iridium, the nefarious characters who bought it, sold it, and stolen it from each other. And just like when Spade or Marlowe go snooping around, people suddenly start dropping dead. Bigelow won't drop until he's flushed out his killer. And with the clock ticking, he becomes filmdom's most frantic inquisitor.
Where are those men? Where are those men who were here last night?
What did he die from? How do you know I made a trip?
Does Mr. Phillips have a wife, family? Anyone that could help me?
Do you know why your husband committed suicide?
What do you know about a man named George Reynolds? Going on a trip, huh? How do you know that?
Well, what is it?
Does the name Raymond Rakubian mean anything to you?
I'm looking for Raymond Rakubian.
Do you have anything to drink?
Well, you seem to know the answer to everything else. Maybe you know the answer to that one, too.
It is so head-spinning, all you can do is laugh. On the other hand, you may interpret D.O.A., as some scholars have, as a metaphor for living under the threat of instant annihilation, thanks to the creation of the atomic bomb. Symbolically, Frank Bigelow running through the streets of San Francisco, realizing his personal doomsday has arrived, is an ideal allegory for the nuclear age. A radioactively contaminated man running out of time inventories the stuff of daily life that could soon be obliterated in the blink of an eye. Rudolph Maté had only directed 3 feature films, but he'd been photographing them brilliantly since 1919. He'd worked as a cinematographer for some of the greatest directors in both Europe and America, and had set an Oscar record that still stands, having been nominated 5 consecutive times for Best Cinematography between 1941 and 45. Now, Maté directed quite a few pictures that could be considered noir: The Dark Past, Union Station, Second Chance, and Forbidden. But none are as memorable as D.O.A., thanks to the picture's unique premise and the roller coaster pacing that Maté brings to the story. And I'll give a lot of credit to another great DP, Ernest Laszlo, who's behind the camera on this one. With Mate looking over his shoulder, you can bet that D.O.A. has a striking and dramatic look. The same could be said about an actor who gets his first screen credit in this film, Neville Brand. His performance as Chester marks the start of an extraordinary run of big-screen villainy for the native Iowan, who, ironically, displayed enough heroism in his military service to emerge as one of the most highly decorated soldiers of World War II.
Real cute, ain't you, Bigelow? Just real cute.
Making her movie debut in a small role as Miss Foster is actress Beverly Campbell, who would soon change her name to Beverly Garland, turn blonde, and become popular as one of the original Scream Queens in 1950s sci-fi and monster movies. All right, then. Strap yourselves in. And don't drink anything during this movie that you didn't pour for yourself. Here is D.O.A.